Hi Marcelo, it's great to have you on the Defiant. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. So Marcelo is the co-founder of Karpatkey. Let's just start with an overview of what Karpatkey is.
Yes. Karpatkey is a DAO that provides on-chain solutions to DAOs and institutions. We are the largest on-chain asset manager in the space, and we manage these funds with our own infrastructure, open source, non-custodial, and it's basically risk infrastructure on-chain, mostly on EVM compatible chains. We're also the treasury managers of some of the largest DeFi protocols out there: Aave, Gnosis, Safe, ENS, Balancer. And we do some yield strategies, but we also do whatever is needed to fulfill the vision of these DeFi protocols or DAOs. Sometimes that means increasing their volume trade, their users. And sometimes that means incentives, M&A, investments. So it's basically the financial layer for all of these DeFi protocols. And we have these teams, dedicated teams, who become core contributors to these DAOs. And we're building this informal treasury network where we share liquidity, we share resources, and we make sure this DeFi industry is more resilient and also trying to elevate, bring funds from outside. So yeah, these sort of things.
Super interesting. And is your own background in asset management?
So my background is in financial modeling. Many years ago, I used to work in Chevron. Then I've been a trader in TradFi for around 15 years. I also work leading Ethereum core development teams before I started working with Gnosis, helping with their treasury. And so I'm a DeFi person.
Okay. And what was your motivation in founding Karpatkey?
So it was this around 2020. The space was quite early. We had all of these DeFi protocols that were, I think, still today leaders. And most of them were composed by technical teams with not a lot of finances background. So our goal was to professionalize anything related to finances so we could help them raise debt, raise capital, do investments, M&A, technical partnerships, and make sure that treasuries were managed in a very conservative way and also in a very risk-averse way, so we could make sure these protocols are really the base layer of the financial system where we want to build.
You said you're the biggest on-chain asset manager. So how much are you managing?
So until a few weeks ago, with 3 billion. Now with the last, it's around $2.5 billion. It's mostly treasuries of the DeFi protocols. So yeah.
And how does it work? Is it so you mentioned some of your clients, ENS, Gnosis, who else?
So we're a Balancer, CowSwap, ENS, Safe, Gnosis. Then we're working on the treasury committees of Lido, treasury working groups of Uniswap, Arbitrum. So these are mostly. So we're very focused.
Projects.
Yes.
Nice.
The ones we think are going to be the base layer for DeFi.
And how does it work? Are these protocols assigning a percentage of their treasuries for you to manage and then transferring that to your own wallets, or how does it work exactly?
So usually, just like you cannot have two CEOs or two CFOs, you cannot have multiple treasury managers because we can have different strategies which create chaos. So usually we work only with one treasury manager, and we align very tightly with the founders, the delegates, token holders to fulfill the vision of these protocols. Usually the way it works is with a proposal to delegate certain actions of the treasury, but the treasury always keeps in the custody of the DAO. So that's one of our most important values.
Okay, so there's no transfer of funds from projects to Karpatkey, rather like delegating functions that allow you to to allocate funds that are already in
exactly.
treasuries.
Exactly. So we're a sister project of Safe. We're both spin-offs from Gnosis, so we build on top of them. Usually the projects who build their own infrastructure, they might have to migrate to a Safe that is owned one out of one for the DAO. So the DAO keeps total control of the funds at all times. And we're working with these modules built on top of Safe, developed by the Gnosis Guild. And we also have our own infrastructure to protect the funds, avoid losses, let's say in certain cases like hacks, DPEX, these high volatility events. And we've been very successful so far. We've been working for a few years, managing all of these funds in DeFi strategies with zero losses.
And how, what sort of strategies do you use to manage treasuries? I'm sure like it depends on what the goals of each project is, but in general, what's been the case most of the time? Are people taking like a more conservative approach, like staying maybe like earning some yield in stable coins, or are projects other projects doing like more risky things? Like what's kind of the range of strategies that you're taking?
So the main goal for any of these treasuries is to fulfill the mission and vision of the DeFi protocol or DAO. So we don't treat these funds as a hedge fund. We don't do any risky strategy. So for the idle funds that are not dedicated for runway, of course, runway paying the operation cost, that's priority number one to keep the project living. For some idle assets, we have these low risk strategies, but then many of these treasuries are very concentrated in their native token. And that's a big part of their cap table. So we've been finding ways to make this somehow debt capital useful and work for the DAO. And with a few different options. Sometimes we can use these tokens for incentives, grants. We've seen this many times. The ones I like the most is this M&A play, where the projects can start doing token equity swaps with projects who are building on top of them or are strategic to them. So basically you diversify the treasury while becoming an investor in anybody building on top of your projects. So this is something we see very interesting. Another one is just token swap with projects who are complement to each other. So let's say we have examples like Balancer and CowSwap. They have some synergies. And when there is a technical partnership, that could be integrations or get some strategy to gain market share, then they consolidate this technical partnership with a token swap. So that's mixing blood and making sure they're very aligned in everything they do. So these are some of the things. But there is a few others. These DAOs with their native tokens can do market making in a very simple way, making sure that the DAO is always long, which is something that is very important, especially in a bear market, and some other initiatives.
Wait, what do you mean by that? That the DAO needs to be, you mean long their own token, or?
Yes, so when you're market making, you can be bullish or bearish. So it's really important for the DAO to be, strong, especially in a bear market, avoid at all cost to sell on secondary markets, because that's what impact prices. So in these moments, we always have options to do with these native tokens. For example, capital raising, making sure we can find some strategic investors who's willing to have a vesting, long-term vesting, and get some resources for the DAO, and these things.
How do you, or are there ways to hedge exposure to the project's own token? Because, I mean, I imagine, like you're saying, you need to find like all these ways to diversify risk, find long-term capital, but in the end, all these projects are taking a huge risk, holding so much of their treasury in their own token rather than, like a stable coin or something like that. Are there ways of protecting?
That's quite difficult to do it on chain because our mandate is always on chain, right? We are strong believers in transparency, full accountability, and auditability at all times. So every time we send funds to an off-chain organization, there is a lot of trust involved, and basically trusting that this black box has a reputation, is going to do what they said they're going to do. So usually we keep everything on-chain, and for on-chain today, hedging, we don't have a lot of options that are liquid or inexpensive enough to be used. So that's one of the challenges we have in the industry.
Can you talk more about the challenges you're seeing? You've mentioned before that DeFi is still quite immature. So yeah, what are the different challenges you're seeing in asset management and DeFi in general?
Yeah, I think especially the leading DeFi protocols have matured quite a lot. If you go back 5 years ago, beginning of 2019, most of the innovators in each of their spaces are still the leaders today. So I think they've matured quite a lot. They went through bear markets, days like Black Thursday, one of the toughest moments in the history of finance. So they've been battle tested. They've been multiple, the audits. So I think they're quite strong. So I don't think it's fair to say that DeFi is immature today. I think it's quite ready to play with let's say the big boys, which is this global, the base layer for a global financial market. So still we have a lot of challenges, and it's mostly the connection to institutions, how to make sure we have some fluency with the traditional markets, some disconnections, real world assets. Many of these protocols don't have legal entities, so it's very difficult for them to interact with the world with jurisdictions, so because they cannot adapt to all of them. So it's basically the challenges they have with internet, and I think regulation needs to catch up, and we need to work to get them together. So that's one of the challenges, bringing the trust from the traditional markets. Another challenges we have are related to risk management, how to make sure we don't have any systemic risk, and we have this resilient financial system all of us believe. So it's funding. Well, right now we're in a sort of bear market for DeFi, but the ingredients are there to come back again, and really I don't see any other 24/7 open source, transparent global financial system out there. So this is it.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so but the things that you're seeing that will help DeFi become, the like global open financial system that goes mainstream are regulatory clarity, risk management, and you're saying also how maybe there needs to be more tools for DeFi projects themselves to be able to.
Yes. We also need more professionals. We need more people with financial skills, more accountants, more people working to do all of these things we already have in traditional finance. So we need the workforce is definitely something critical. people who are professional, who are willing, who believe in our space and are willing to learn these new ways, these different pipelines. So that's one of the things we need to push. Another one is get the workforce of similar projects together, maybe through M&A, make sure we work together. And yes, that's something important too.
What advice would you give to founders or like management of DeFi protocols in terms of how to manage their treasuries?
So especially for the small ones, I would tell them not to do anything risky, don't lose focus of their vision, which is completely unrelated to the treasury. Treasury is there to serve the purpose of the DAO. The token is there maybe to get the right partners together, do a fundraising, but their token is not their product. The treasury is not their product. So they shouldn't keep much attention to the treasury. Make sure they have runway, and that's the key thing. Keep it your own capsule of funds, and yeah, we believe everything doing on chain because we can make sure that the teams are in control.
I think that's a great point, and something that sometimes is lost, especially when there's a bull market. The token many times does become the product, and I think that's when DeFi loses a lot of its potential because it ends up being just a source of a lot of speculation rather than delivering actual financial services.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. It's very easy to get distracted because in a traditional world you would never be able to have a share that is liquid if they don't have a business model, right? There are organizations, entities that make sure you can only IPO if you have certain criteria, you have a mature business. And in our industry, which is mostly unregulated, people can just launch a token on day one and exit on day one. And so their product is their token, they were just selling promises. But I think that's changing. We're not having many of those, except for, of course, meme coins that are basically just speculation. But there is this very interesting part of the industry that are building solid business models. Yeah. They're providing utility to users, mostly in financial layer, lending, borrowing, insurance, issuing assets, all sort of things that are helping move a global economy. So I'm very bullish on these projects.
Likewise. I think treasury management is so important, especially in crypto where there's so much risk that we've talked about just the massive token exposure. And I just remember from the 2019 bear market where just a lot of projects had to just fold because they were keeping all their treasuries in their own token. Everything was down over 90%, and so many projects, couldn't survive that way. So, effectively managing treasuries can be definitely life or death.
Yeah, of course. Plan for the worst, expect the best. Yeah. Yes, be very conservative. So yeah, and build a war chest for the bear market.
Yep. So long term, what's your vision for Karpatkey?
Yeah, so the way I see Karpatkey is we're building these dedicated teams for each DeFi vertical that can complement or can stack. So lending, DEXs, insurance, payments, asset issuance, staking, and then anything related to DeFi, middleware like indexers, oracles, and then all of our protocols live on top of some layer 1, layer 2s. So we're very dedicated to building these exclusive teams. And then we have some SWAT teams behind that specialize in functions that can be quants, trading desks, legal, investments, M&A that can support all of the ecosystem. So the vision, the main goal is to help, support. We're here to serve these protocols, make them stronger, more resilient, make sure we don't introduce any type of systemic risk. So, and then on the other side is bringing external funds. We have an institutional arm that is working to provide structured products for all of our DAOs to institutional investors, so we can bring some fresh funds. And well, with our capital raising efforts, also we're building this Karpatkey wallet that would allow any asset manager to manage their funds in the way we're doing it today.
Interesting.
So that's the vision: bringing funds, elevating the industry, making sure that the key pieces are together, acquiring teams, and making sure their expertise is being used in the best way possible. So that's Karpatkey. We are the financial layer of DeFi.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us. It was great to get to know your project better, and I think your vision is really crucial for this space.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that.